Hey guys, in this video I'll be comparing Wesley Vissers' 2024 Arnold and Chris Bumstead's 2023 Olympia versions to see how close Wesley is to defeating the champ. We all saw him defeat number 2 in the world, which means the only person standing in front of him at the Olympia is Chris Bumstead. Both are taller guys and have impressive, imposing frames, so this should make for an interesting comparison. Now, before the video does start, a like and sub would be much appreciated. With that all being said though, let's get into this video. Alright, the first pose is the front double, and in my opinion, this is a Chris Bumstead pose all day. He has a much more pleasing midsection and better lats, genetically speaking, which helps him create a much better V-taper. Wesley's wider waist and blocky taper looks a bit worse next to C-Bum, however, he fights back with huge arms and great upper body size. While Chris does still have superior legs in terms of shape, Wesley has some great separation and detail which makes his quads stand out. He isn't winning in the quads by any means, however, he certainly has brought them up from what they used to be. Although Wesley does have better arms and a really dominant structure, Chris's undeniable shape and aesthetic are too much for Wesley in the pose. The front lat spread isn't mandatory, however, the more poses we have equals a better analysis. In the pose, Wesley has a ripped and shredded chest, cut quads, and a relatively tight midsection, and I'd have him winning in the chest, arms, and delts. That being said, Chris has far better lats, as they are lower inserted and fill out the pose more. He also has more sweep to his outer quads, which helps him create a balanced and proportional pose. While he isn't massive in the arms, delts, or chest, he has a much more impressive silhouette and destroys Wesley in the lats. The side chest is a great pose for both, as they present ripped and thick chests, large and separated side legs, and great overall structures. Chris immediately draws my attention, as he looks super statuesque and aesthetic upstairs, while possessing the most detail in the side leg. Wesley does have an objectively better arm and delt, comparable chest conditioning, and just as big of, if not a bigger side leg, however, he lacks the same detail in that leg. Although I do prefer Chris's upper body look, I think Wesley has him beat in the arm and delt, while being very similar in the chest. Now, Chris does easily win in the leg department, making this pose extremely close. I'd probably go with Chris for the overall win, as he doesn't lose the upper body by much, while he does win the lower half convincingly. That being said, on stage, things might be different, as Wesley's stage presence might attract the judges more. The rear double is a pose which I think Wesley brought up big time, and he certainly did. His traps and lats are wider than ever, and he shows great overall separation in that back and in those shoulders as well. I mean, wow. That being said, Chris is so far ahead of everyone in this area, as he has thickness, density, and width without sacrificing anything at all. Even his arms look great in the pose, showcasing comparable peaks to Wesley. Wesley does have great hamstrings and delts though, however Chris has more strided glutes and deeply cut hamstrings plus better calves. This shouldn't really be a surprise to many of you guys, because Chris is easily going to take the rear double. The ab and thigh is definitely a Chris Bumstead pose as well, as he has a smaller midsection and more swept quads. Wesley does have decent abs, however his midsection is blocky and he doesn't have the best taper. His quads look phenomenal though, and honestly look more cleanly separated than Chris's. Now, the vacuum does help Wesley create a bit of a better taper, however his ribcage shape isn't as ideal as Chris's for the vacuum. Chris just looks so much better with his flared lats, extremely small waist, and nicely swept quads. He has a much better silhouette and grabs your attention much more in the pose. The favorite classic pose is a very classic looking one for Wesley, while Chris looks more akin to a supercar with aerodynamic lines. This pose really focuses on the arms, which is an area where Wesley handily wins in. His biceps are twice the size as Chris's, and although he doesn't have the same separation, he looks more aesthetic in that region. Additionally, his midsection doesn't look as blocky due to a change in the posing, and his upper body width is undeniable. Chris looks great too, as his midsection is so much smaller and he pulls a deeper vacuum. While his arms aren't as, genetically good as Wesley's, it still does show supreme separation and development, especially in the tricep. Both have great quads in the pose, so it is close. I'll leave this one up for you to decide who looks better in the pose. I personally do prefer Wesley, however, Chris's lines, things like that, might get him the win. Alright guys, that about does it for this video. While Chris is certainly the dominant one and the winner of this comparison, I think that Wesley put up a solid fight and made an argument for himself in basically every pose. It really comes down to what the judges prefer come show day, as Wesley may be the new standard that the judges are looking for, considering that he beat Ramon, a guy who has better lines but maybe isn't as structurally massive, kind of similar to Chris. Now anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.